Okay, today as we talk about the miracle in the middle of the mess, we're going to be in John chapter 9 looking at the man born blind. And let's just go ahead and jump right into verse number 1. Okay, and it says, as Jesus passed by, he saw a man who was blind from birth. Now my question is, how did he know that man was blind from birth? All right, obviously he's God. But it's not like he was wearing a t-shirt that said, blind from birth, right? So what I'm wanting to say is nobody told Jesus, there wasn't a t-shirt, he wasn't holding a sign. God knows your situation. He knows where you are. He knows your PIN code. You don't have to tell him every detail of every problem you've ever faced. He already knows. And he's so anxious and desperate to want to give you that miracle that you're looking for. In fact, in this account, it doesn't even say that the man asked him to heal him. Jesus just said, he didn't say. He just spit on the ground, made mud, and put it on his eyes. You know what? That's messy. Imagine, it's someone spit and it's the dirt where everybody walks and every kind of disgusting thing happens in the dirt. And he made that into clay and he put it on his eye. You know what I want to say? Sometimes it's going to get messier before it gets better. But you know what? We have to trust the process. And sometimes we just don't. We don't trust the process. Like Martha, she didn't want to trust when Jesus said, roll away the stone. She was like, it's going to smell. This is not a good idea. We have to trust that he already knows. He knows the end from the beginning from the end. We have to trust that. All right, so what happened? He put the mud on his eyes. And it wasn't just an instant thing. He told the man something else to do. He said, go to the pool and wash. And you know what? Sometimes our answer is so easy. It's so simple. We think, that can't be the answer. That's too easy. If that's the answer, it could have happened before. No, but you know what? His obedience brought him the answer he needed. The key is that the man obeyed. It says the man obeyed and he came back seeing. You know what? Sometimes I think we quit just before our miracle because we don't trust the messy process. Oh, that's too messy. That can't be God. That's too simple. That can't be God. Really? Just praise and worship? That'll give me the breakthrough? That can't be God. You know what? God is so simple. But you know what he also says in Isaiah 55? His ways are higher than our ways. His thoughts are not our thoughts. So when God speaks to you a word, when your pastor tells you, just praise and worship, it'll break the bondages. You have to believe that. God's word says it, it's true. Don't try to make something more complicated than it is. God has an easy answer and a miracle in the middle of your mess. So if he can heal the blind man who was always blind, you know what? You could say, no, it's impossible. It's always been that way. It can't ever change. It's always been that way, Lord. He was always blind. Or that person has always stuttered, or I've always had this hang up. You know what? God's not slowed down or turned away by how long you've been in this mess, whether it was your whole life or whether it was just 1 year or whether it was just one time. It doesn't slow him down because you know what? He's the God of all creation. He made you. He knows everything about you, and he knows how to bring a miracle in the middle of your mess. So going the second mile. Don't be blind to the miracle, even if it's a little muddy, even if it means you go wash in a pool. I imagine that man walking down the road with mud on his eyes, walking, trying to find the water, but he was determined to find that answer. You know what? Be determined to obey God, whatever he says to you, and I promise you, he will never let you down.